The airport buzzed with the usual hum of travelers rushing to their gates, rolling luggage clicking along the tiled floors. A well-dressed woman, elegantly clad in a designer suit and heels, arrived at her departure gate. She carried herself with an air of sophistication, her polished demeanor suggesting a life accustomed to comfort and privilege. Holding a first-class ticket, she walked confidently down the jet bridge, ready for what she expected to be a pleasant and seamless flight. As she boarded the aircraft, she found her designated seat in economy class. This was unusual for her, as she typically flew first class, but due to last-minute travel arrangements, she had to settle for a seat in the main cabin. With a sigh, she stowed her designer handbag in the overhead compartment and prepared to settle in. However, as she turned to sit, her eyes fell on the man occupying the adjacent seat. He was a middle-aged man with a gentle expression and a relaxed posture. However, one detail struck her immediately. He had no arms. The sight of his empty sleeves resting in his lap made her uneasy. She hesitated, her discomfort growing. Questions and assumptions flooded her mind. How would he eat? Would he need assistance? Would she have to interact with him in ways that made her uncomfortable? The very thought of it unsettled her. Unable to suppress her unease, she flagged down a flight attendant, her manicured fingers lightly touching the uniformed woman's arm. "I can't sit here," she whispered, ensuring her voice didn't carry beyond their conversation. "I need another seat." The flight attendant, a seasoned professional accustomed to all manner of requests, maintained a polite demeanor. She glanced around the cabin but saw no empty seats available in economy. With an apologetic smile, she replied, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the flight is full. There are no other available seats in economy." The woman pursed her lips, unsatisfied. "Please," she insisted, lowering her voice but making her urgency clear. "I need to be moved. I can't sit here." Understanding that the passenger was adamant, the flight attendant decided to check with the captain. "Let me see what I can do," she said before disappearing to the front of the aircraft. Moments later, the flight attendant returned, a composed expression on her face. She turned toward the man with no arms and addressed him kindly. "Sir, the captain has authorized a seat for you in first class. We want to ensure that you have a comfortable journey, free from any inconvenience." A hush fell over the surrounding passengers as they watched the scene unfold. The man blinked in surprise, his expression softening with gratitude. After a brief moment of hesitation, he nodded. "Thank you," he said warmly, his voice carrying a quiet dignity. The flight attendant helped him gather his belongings and escorted him toward the front of the aircraft. As he passed by, several passengers exchanged glances, some shaking their heads in silent disapproval of the woman's behavior. A few even offered him encouraging smiles, subtly acknowledging the injustice of the situation. Meanwhile, the woman sat frozen in her seat, her face flushed with a deep shade of red. Embarrassment and shame crept over her like a suffocating wave. She felt the weight of dozens of eyes upon her, their silent judgment cutting deeper than any words ever could. She had expected the flight attendant to accommodate her, to move her elsewhere, away from her discomfort. Instead, the man she had dismissed had been treated with kindness and respect. While she remained where she was, the one now facing the scrutiny of those around her. As the flight progressed, she found it difficult to focus. Her mind replayed the moment over and over again, twisting her initial reasoning into something she could no longer justify. What had truly made her so uncomfortable? Was it really about the logistics of sitting next to him? Or was it her own prejudices, her own unconscious biases that had driven her reaction? As she glanced at the empty seat beside her, she felt an unfamiliar emotion creep in: regret. Somewhere in first class, the man settled into his luxurious new seat. He reclined comfortably, accepting a drink from the attentive flight attendants. He had not asked for special treatment, nor had he sought to be a symbol of grace in the face of prejudice. But in the end, his dignity had spoken louder than any protest. And as the plane soared through the sky, the woman remained in her seat, left to wrestle with the uncomfortable truth about herself.